I'm Scott Simi, Chief Content Editor with Indro Robotics, and on today's edition of our Soundbite micro podcast, I'm pleased to welcome Josh Ogden, co-founder and CEO of AVSS, Aerial Vehicle Safety Solutions, Inc. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, so listen, we met first, I think, at AUVSI. You co-founded your company back in 2017. What was your vision for AVSS at the time?
AVSS is a unique story where we spent my business partner and I, a fellow Josh Boudreau, the Chief Technology Officer of our company and co-founder. We spent 2 years looking at ideas, and at one point we were reading about Domino's wanting to do drone delivery, and we thought it was crazy, and we thought they were just going to be crashing pizzas into cars. We started looking at regulations and looking at rules, and from there we determined that there was an opportunity that France and Chile had some rules, so we went down the pathway. We had a bit of money to start for a year, and then if not, we'd be adults and go get real jobs. And it's been 8 years now, and we're still finding opportunities within the industry. So it was really much find the problem, look at the rules, and we were confident that we could build something better.
Well, back when you guys started, people were probably flying like a DJI Phantom 4 Pro. Things have changed a lot since then, and your company is known for a lot of sophisticated and compliant products. So let's start with safety systems for drones. What has AVSS developed in that regard?
Yeah, so when you look at what AVSS has developed, there's actually the hardware, software, firmware component of a reliable parachute system that enables you to fly over people. People don't necessarily want to buy our parachutes just to save a drone from falling into an agriculture field, even though there's some benefit, but that's not the core use case. The main use case is the compliance piece. So as much as we're building this hardware software, we're compliant with ASTM F3322 standard. We have an FAA means of compliance, and we sell around the world. It's that regulatory understanding that really separates us and really puts us there, because ultimately when someone's buying our product, they need to get an ROI. They buy the drone because it's a tool to make dirty, dull, dangerous jobs. But ultimately, it's how do we add value, and enabling them to fly over people, enabling them to do more is that critical component.
You also have a system for dropping payloads via parachutes. I got a chance to see this in action out at Area XO, and it was pretty darn impressive. And not just any parachutes, but steerable parachutes. Tell us about that and about use cases.
Yeah, for sure. So the steerable parachutes were created to solve the problem in the drone industry as far as drone parachutes drifting into random places because once they deploy. But to build that technology, we had to test. So we just did basic drops. And then from there, we said, wait, we might have a product in itself. So we started pitching to different government users on what happens if you could get an object from A to B without landing. So the idea with the steerable parachute is it's delivering an object when landing isn't an option, when winching down an item is not practical. So a lot of like fixed wing VTOL aircraft. And the use cases is really, I need to go A to B and resupply something, whether it's an emergency and I need to get someone fire extinguisher for wildfires, or not fire extinguishers, but wildfire kits, as well as there's situations where I need to do resupply in military applications, maybe ammunition, or just those other use cases where, it's not backyard delivery. It's a really high value where I need to get it and it needs to be reliable. So the idea is we need to get it there, and it's beyond drones. We've dropped them off of Cessnas before, so it's really just enabling more efficient delivery when you're in an emergency use case.
Your products are compliant with a number of recognized engineering standards and regulatory bodies. Why is that so important, and how difficult was it to get there?
The main thing on why it's important is people won't buy your product unless you have those, and there's not many of us that can accomplish that just because of the cost associated. When we do a third-party testing standard for a parachute on a commercial drone, you're spending $100,000 to $200,000 in just compliance testing before you start selling the product, and so that's a big burden, like that additional upfront cost, and then so that's really the importance behind it, and it kind of separates our product on the market on those investments.
Now, you also work directly with drone manufacturers to integrate your parachute recovery system to meet ASTM standards. That's the American Society for Testing and Materials. How important has that segment, custom parachute integration for manufacturers, been for AVSS?
Yeah, so outside of, doing a retrofit solution, working with drone manufacturers directly diversifies our market. It allows us to enter into additional markets, whether it's drone delivery or other use cases. And it allows us as a company to have a diverse customer set. You don't want to be betting on just one customer, and we've got a nice balance in that segment of our product portfolio of different drone manufacturers and enabling them to do more.
All right, with that background, there was some really big news for your company in early August, and it's in a completely new area. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the new area that we've kind of entered into after several years of working on this core technology of dropping and delivering goods is avalanche control. So for those who aren't aware, we manage avalanches proactively in Canada and around the world where there's, ski hills or avalanche risk. And so traditionally, the way in which we control avalanches is either by employing World War II howitzers, such as in Rogers Pass, doing heli bombing where they're dropping explosives from helicopters, or hand tosses, something similar you'd see in like a ski hill in the backcountry. And the idea is let's remove that snow risk before it accumulates too much and we have a massive avalanche. And so, uh, a simple analogy is like, you cut your grass every week, so at the end of the summer you don't have to cut off a huge amount. Avalanche, a little bit more sophisticated, a lot more science behind it, but I would say that the idea is let's manage the avalanche proactively. And so our approval will allow us to use drones to deliver the explosives for avalanche control. And what it does for the avalanche technicians is it becomes a new tool. It's not going to replace everything, but it's going to give them a new tool where maybe they have what we call racks, remote avalanche control stations, and maybe you need to you're in a maintenance cycle, or maybe there's something wrong and you need to replace the charges. Well, now you have your drone as a potential tool. Or maybe there's locations where it's really dangerous for the helicopter to fly over. Well, the drone is a new way to do it. Again, not a complete replacement, but gives them that new tool where it's more safe. And when we think of drones, I know it's the dirty, dull, dangerous jobs, right? That we're trying to augment, and we're not removing the human out of the loop. We're not taking away jobs, but we're just trying to make them more safe, more efficient, more effective.
It's a super cool use case, and I'm curious, like, how did you guys come up with the idea?
So for this one, we were approached at one point at a conference, and someone said, "Oh, I see your guided delivery system," and the one thing with the guided delivery system is people come and they tell us all their ideas. They're different. Hey, you could use it for this use case, that use case. And one of the use cases was like, have you thought about using it for avalanche? So we started going down that pathway and saying, oh yeah, let's use these parachutes to guide explosives in, and based on our own testing beforehand, we know about drift, we know about potential risks, and we went down that pathway, and then we developed the technology. It actually doesn't include parachutes anymore. It has a different decelerator technique that we're using that we'll be sharing later on this year, that basically enables the explosive to be delivered without completely penetrating the snow. And that's where kind of the use cases evolved. And right now it's an interesting market where, simultaneous innovation. We're not the first. We're not going to be the last. And there's new products out there right now that there's a few of us. There's probably like 3 to 5 companies, it seems, in North America, Europe, that are looking at this opportunity and approaching it in different ways. And it's going to be an exciting next few years on this market.
What were the technical challenges in trying to make this a workable system?
The technical challenge, a lot of it is the regulatory. So I guess not the engineering side, but all the regulatory hoops. Like you've got so many stakeholders involved, which makes sense. Like this is a very dangerous operation if you're not doing the proper steps. So the challenge is, you've got Transport Canada approval to drop stuff from drones. You got Transport Canada's approval for dangerous goods. Then you've got your Natural Resources Canada on the storage of the explosives, as well as you have to deal with the regulatory side of the transportation. And then you have WorkSafe and, for example, British Columbia, like they're a key stakeholder. So the big challenge is getting everyone involved and getting them saying, hey, there's a new way to do it, but we got to do it safe, and this is our approach. On the engineering side, because we've been investing in this technology since 2019, 2018 is when we really started doing guided delivery stuff, but really putting a lot of investment into it in 2020 2020 onwards is, we've understand how to drop stuff. We're on our like fourth or fifth iteration of drop systems. We're on our fifth iteration of guided delivery systems. So I think that's where the technical challenges were 5 years coming, but the real challenges, I think, is that human side of getting everyone comfortable with a new way of doing things.
When do you anticipate deployment and where?
Yeah, so we've done our initial testing in BC and in Ottawa where we're showing the reliability of the drops. Now that we've got this new approval, we can finally start doing the actual explosive drop. So this fall, late fall, early winter, we're going to be actually doing the explosive drops, probably initially in the Ontario region where it's close to our office, and then in the mountains of BC to go out and but it's got to be a crawl, walk, run approach. Like you can't just go up to a mountain, drop explosives. You got to make sure you get your reliability in like a quarry. Then you kind of go into that like mountainous region, but like probably still in a quarry, and then moving to the mountains. So very much a staged approach for this.
Well, congratulations on this. It's an amazing project and use case scenario. Before we go, is there anything else you'd like to add about what the company's up to, or about this project, which I understand has a special name?
Yes, so we call this the technology PAMS, Precision Avalanche Management System, and we're dropping snow darts. And I think the big thing is like, hey, if you're from the avalanche blasting, whether it's mining, whether it's working for a DOT, or you're working at a ski hill, and you're seeing like, hey, we could use this because of there's locations where we need to do blasting that are very difficult or it's dangerous. Please reach out. Like right now, we're drone people for sure. We know regulations. Like we've been dealing with energetics and explosives since 2020 for other applications, but avalanche is a new field for us. We're not experts on snow density and the layering and the forecasting, but we're really open to learning more and getting educated. So if you're someone out there that's listening to this and you're like, hey, I've been doing avalanche blasting, and I run a ski hill, and I think this is awesome, and I think this is a new way of doing it, please reach out to us. We've been part of other trends where I look at police departments. They were early adopters of drones, and we started working with Chula Vista in the drone DFR space in 2020, and over 5 years we've learned so much. And yeah, we're hoping for that ecosystem support on we want to build the tech, we want to give you the tech, but we want to refine the tech for your use case.
Josh Ogden, co-founder and CEO of AVSS, that's Aerial Vehicle Safety Solutions, Inc. Thanks so much for joining us on this edition of Soundbite, and good luck with this project.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Thanks very much for having me.